Hello, everybody. Jan of Jan Hicks Creates here, and I am coming to you with my last in the Celebrating You series. I have to tell you, I have had a great time talking to all of these ladies. I hope you have enjoyed them. Today, I'm talking to Julia Brooks, and Julia is a fascinating crafter, cross-stitcher, and I hope that you really enjoy this conversation. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Julia, how are you today?
Hi, I'm good, Jan. Doing
Yeah?
great here in South Carolina.
Good, glad to hear it. Why don't you start with telling us a little bit about who you are, your family, where you live?
Okay. Well, as I said, I live in South Carolina. I live outside of the Charleston area, just inside the state in Summerville, South Carolina. We moved here about 16 years ago, and I was born and bred in Virginia, which is a big cross-stitching area. I am a registered nurse. In between halves of my registered nursing career, I majored in art history. So I have a little bit of an art background, not as a doer, but certainly as an observer and critic probably, and knowing what I like and that kind of thing. So I have my husband and I live here, and I have two daughters. I'm retired right now from nursing, but I have two daughters, grown. One lives in San Francisco, and she just took up some cross stitching. I don't know where she'll go with it, but she is doing a little cross stitching, so that's been fun to talk about with her. And I have another daughter who lives outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So she's on this half of the country near me, and she lives with her family and my granddaughter, who I've introduced to cross stitching, but hasn't really taken it up. I'm hoping sometime in the future she will. Her mother, sorry.
How old's your granddaughter?
She's 19.
Okay.
She's been with me to some shows. Some people, some of the watchers might know the Woodlawn Needlework Show. Unfortunately, it had to be cut short in March of this year, but I lived in Northern Virginia, so I took her to that show and some other shows. So she's done a little bit. She met a couple of designers at that show too, and they gave her some freebies that she still has, I think. So sooner or later, she might pick it up. But her mother is my biggest fan and the holder of most of my works.
Oh.
So that's why I won't have very much from the past years to show you, because she's a big fan of my needlework, and will pick out charts for me to work and so forth. So she has a lot of them.
It's good to have family that appreciates what you do.
Definitely.
Yeah. So tell me how you got started stitching and how long you've been stitching.
Oh, how long? Believe it or not, I think since 1973.
Wow.
I left home and married when I was 18 in the early 70s. And prior to that, as a student in high school, I had sewn. I bought myself a sewing machine. I had done a lot of knitting, knitted my then boyfriend a sweater, did all kinds of knitting. My mother and grandmother had needle-pointed dining room chairs, and my mother also was a knitter. So I had seen some needlepoint and was kind of interested in that. And I found myself a new housewife, 250 miles away from home, and I needed something to do in my free time. So I went to a needlepoint shop, and I found cross stitch. I did a little bit of needlepoint. At that point, there were a lot of cross stitch kits, and there was only Ada, and needlepoint was actually a lot more expensive than to do. So cross stitch was very appealing.
Right.
And so I taught myself. I've had some people help me along the way with a few tips, but I've mainly taught myself. And I have my very first piece.
Do you?
Yeah. This is my very first piece.
Wow.
The old damask.
Right.
With Ada in the middle.
Wow.
And bring it up closer. The funny thing about this is, and my husband would tell you this, I hate backstitch. I hate backstitch. And this thing is full of backstitch. And I don't know if I hate it because I was a newbie and didn't didn't know any better or what, but anyway, I hate backstitch. And usually about 90% of my way through a project, I'm saying, I don't really think I need to do the backstitch. And most of the time I do the backstitch.
Yeah. It makes a difference, that's for sure.
Yeah. So then I went to nursing school, and I didn't stitch during that time period very much because I was busy.
That's pretty intense, yeah.
And as I became a new mom and had children, I started stitching some and stitched gifts for people. And a vast majority of my stitching over the years has been given to people. There have been periods, most recently 5 years actually, long time periods where I didn't stitch, as is true for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah.
I always said that once I retired, I'd get back to it, and that was the reason for my stash. That's my excuse for my stash. But honey, you haven't stitched in years. But sooner or later I will. When I retire, I will.
That's right.
Yeah, so now that's paying off.
Yeah.
But a vast majority of my work over the years, I've given away, even sold a few pieces. Sold all the Prairie Schooler Santas. I had the whole series.
Wow.
Yeah, I wish I had them, but and I do a lot of Christmas, so that's boxed up. But I do have some other ththings to show you today.
Okay, cool. So you said you just recently got back into it about 5 years ago.
I had put it down for 5 years. I retired from nursing in June, and started looking on Facebook. The nearest LNS that I knew of to me at that time was about a 3-hour drive. And so I started really looking on Facebook for other stitchers because I was retired and I had that stash I'd been saving. So I started really looking around on Facebook for someone else to maybe make that trip to me to that needlework shop and have lunch and so forth and shop.
Where was that one?
That's Stitch and Frame in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Been there a long time. So lo and behold, I find out through looking around on Facebook that we have a new LNS opening right in my same town, which is Fire Poppies. And the way I found out is she was hiring. So I went from being nurse consultant to needlework consultant.
That's
in a matter of a month. Yeah.
Wow. So you worked in the store?
I did. I worked in the store until we had to slow down for social distancing and so forth.
And you said that they are doing online orders and curbside pickup, and so they do have an online website.
Yes, she has actually a new website, and she's looking for feedback on that. She just launched that website this week. So if you Google Fire Poppies, you should be able to find it. She's in Somerville. The owner is Susan Winter, and she's very customer service oriented. She has a great array of things. She would laugh eventually she'll probably see this, and she would laugh because when I interviewed, I said, I don't do samplers. And actually that's not true at all. I just thought it was true. And she said that she had, quite an array of things, both old and new. And so I learned a lot. Turns out I'm more of a sampler stitcher than I was giving myself credit for.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it was funny. But she has a real good assortment of things in stock right now.
Is it a good size store?
It's a medium-sized store. It's very well laid out, and she has a great stitching lounge, which, of course, we can't use right now. And I don't know what her plans are for that with social distancing, but she has opportunities to use that space. And she also has a television in there. People watch Floss Tube all day.
That's cool. Wow.
A lot of seasoned, experienced stitchers on staff, too, to help with color and creativity and all kinds of things.
Neat.
Yeah.
So you said you've discovered you're a sampler stitcher. Is that your favorite thing to stitch, or is there something else you would say is your favorite?
My favorite thing to stitch is the thing I'm stitching at the time.
That's how I am too, I think.
So I go all over the place, but I do have an old sampler that I found recently. My husband finished a room for me in our house, took a storage room, and again, this was part of my retirement plans, and took a storage room and we made it into a stitching studio.
Awesome.
And so in the course of setting that up, I had things all over the house of my cross stitch prior to my last move, and all kinds of things. And as I said, I hadn't stitched in about 5 years, so I kind of put it aside. So as I'm gathering up things, I find this sampler, this mystery sampler, and I'm hoping someone might be able to identify it for me, who the designer was. As you can see, I did it in 2006. It has a really nice, pretty border, and I think what attracted it, what attracted
border, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty.
And it's done with, pretty sure this is done with DMC. Okay. These motifs look familiar, but I can't place the designer. And then we've got some 1/1 down here. These 4 little animals on top of the fence are 1/1, which I know people have talked about now. And then the other key is wrought by. That has to be in the design. I would not have, I wouldn't have put that in myself.
And that peacock is pretty distinctive too.
Yes.
And the Scotty over there.
Yes. So and this is all by the design. This would have been called for. Okay. At that point, that was by far my first sampler. I would not have made any changes. So I'm hoping someone can identify the designer.
So if any of you guys know what that is, what it's called, who designed it, say so in the comments. Help us to identify that. Awesome. So
that one just came out of hiding recently. So as soon as we can get out, it will go to the framer.
Yeah. Do you have a good framer there in town?
Well, Susan is doing framing at Fire Poppies, is beginning to do that. And then there are several local framers and framers in South Carolina who also do like to do needlework. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, very good. So what is your favorite thing that you're stitching on right now then?
Well, at the moment, again, I don't do samplers, remember. But so I'm working on Early Americans by Little House.
Right.
And I'm doing it as one piece.
Okay.
And I just started down here, the 4th block. I started that last night, actually. And that is going to be my good friend, Nathan Hale. And I say my good friend because I'm related to him, which I think is fun. And that's actually how I got into Early Americans. I was in the stitch and frame shop in Rock Hill, and I pass and I see something that says Nathan Hale, and I know that he's in my family tree. So I just grabbed this chart that says Nathan Hale and said, I got to do that. And then I got home and realized it was part of a whole series. So
cool.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. I'm in a stitch along for that for the year.
So tell us what you're stitching that on.
Oh, this is on tin roof with all the called for colors, which are the classics colorworks.
Are you going to do Donna's border around it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, that's so pretty. Now, did you work on a frame or a hoop or in hand?
I used the Q-snaps, and that's why this is a little bit wrinkled. This is a big piece, so it's and I like to work on a Q-snap for this project that is actually the size of my chart. You know, that just helps me visually.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folding. So I did press this for you a little bit before.
Appreciate that. People don't usually get mine pressed. So.
And I use the Lowry stand. You can't really see it over here, but I have a pretty pink Lowry stand. That was my retirement gift from me to me.
Awesome.
But I also will just as readily do stitch in hand. I find stitch in hand is very therapeutic, but that's such a big project. There's too much fabric to hold.
A lot of fabric to have in your lap. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something motivational for me and visual about just since it's one of 9 parts, I like to have that one part that I'm working on in front of me. So
you can just focus on that.
Yeah. So that's what
are you a monogamous stitcher, or do you have other things going on too?
No, I used to be a monogamous stitcher, and I think that slowed me down.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think if I got bored with the piece and I felt, then I would beat myself up, can't go to something else. So that's how sometimes I think 5-year gaps pass,
Yeah.
maybe with me. So
Interesting.
now I'm older and wiser and I don't have to work. So I do what I want when I want, including changing my Mania plans after Mania starts. So
That is perfectly okay.
but I do have a general Mania plan, and I've already finished one piece actually that I started May 1st.
Show us everything.
So this is an old one. Let's see, copywritten. When did I see? Don't see it right now, but this is from Homespun Elegance, and the reason I'm doing it is you can kind of see the colors kind of match my chair.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mentioned my stitching room, and I found this chair on Facebook Marketplace as my stitching chair. And my back bothers me a little bit, so I'm actually stitching this for me, and I already finished it because it's a quick little piece to work up.
Oh, wow. Oh,
this is on an old piece of Charles Craft 18.
Lift it up and over to your left. There you go. Down just a little bit. There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Nice.
It's kind of a long one. It has some satin stitches in it, and it also has some colonial knots.
Right.
And looking on the back of the colonial knots, you can't tell the front from the back on the first set.
Yeah.
But then I got better the second time. But pretty colors in this one.
Here, I think the other way. Bring it the other way.
There we go.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's pretty. So again, you need to wait until they're open so you can get it framed.
Well, I'm going to make this into a pillow, a little lumbar pillow. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So right. I have to get some supplies for it. But it's called Bird and Blossoms from Homespun Elegance.
That's very pretty. I think I've just recently come across that, probably somewhere on Etsy, knowing me.
Well, I just saw some things on one of the floss tubers, and I'm sorry, I don't know which one, but featuring some Homespun Elegance. And that's a Virginia designer, northern-based designer that had a lot of things available in Virginia. So okay. my LNS there was in Stitches in Alexandria. Yeah.
So,
and then there was one in Fredericksburg, Virginia too, and I don't know that one's still open. But another one that I finished just recently, this is a Carolyn Manning freebie.
Yeah, she has some amazing freebies.
Yeah, this is Together We Stitch freebie number 6.
Very pretty.
And it's done on a mystery fabric, but it's a Lugana. I like working on the even weaves a lot, especially that therapy we were talking about. They feel good in hand. And,
right.
Now, this is an example of back stitching that was not done.
It doesn't look like it needs it.
No, I don't think you can tell it without seeing the chart and knowing that it had back stitching. But this was one that my husband said, you always say that when you get to 90% done. Yeah, this doesn't need back stitching.
Is that all DMC, the called for DMC?
That's close to the called for. I didn't have some of the colors, but I picked the next closest colors. They were kind of serene and pretty, I thought.
Yeah, very.
So. My other Mania goal, and again, I've already partially met this one, is I have a bunch of Mill Hill kits, and I do a fall tree, a little short fall tree, and then of course I do a lot of Christmas ornaments. So I decided I needed to knock out these Mill Hill kits. So I'm doing one of those a week. And I finished the stitching on this. This is what's this one? Sally Scarecrow. Yeah. So trying to knock one of those out a week.
Very good.
Another one that I recently finished. This was a freebie. Let's see. I've got it back here. Let's see if that helps a little bit. Yeah. This is a freebie from Blackberry Rabbit that came out pretty early when they were doing these. You can kind of see it.
That's cute.
And that one, goes to my granddaughter, and I just dug up some. I don't have a lot of finishing supplies here, but I did dig up some things, and I'm going to finish that into a little pillow and send that off to my granddaughter.
Oh, nice.
So, should we talk about Mania then? Or
Oh, heck yeah.
since I kind of got into that.
So this is your first time doing Mania?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I probably could have done 31 starts or 30 starts if I wanted to, but what I elected to do, and I've modified it slightly since I started, was to do every Friday. Since I don't work, I don't really have to worry about my weekends for stitching, because every day is a weekend for stitching. But so on Fridays, I start a new project, and then on Tuesdays, I start my Mill Hills, and I'm pretty much going to finish my Mill Hills, you know, during that week.
Mm-hmm.
Then on the other days, I have some whips that I'm trying to meet some goals on. I got really heavy, it seems, into Quakers, and I love Quakers, and they're gorgeous, but I was working several Quakers at one time, and it was getting to be too much.
Yeah.
And some of them are single colors as well, and that's beautiful, and the effect is wonderful, but I get easily bored. So
I think twins.
yeah. So you said that recently, yeah, on your floss tube. So my goal in between is to maybe work a motif or a certain section of some of these whips to move forward with those. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily want to finish. My goal is not necessarily to finish anything, although I just told my husband maybe we need to have finish it February. Because people seem to start a lot and we don't finish things. That's imagine right. That.
Imagine that. I can't imagine that at all.
So my first Mania is, and it's funny that it's, because these are the only two things I have from them, but I do like these. It's black, this is a freebie, Blackberry Rabbit, that came with the Fabric Fair fabric, which is Berkshire Hive.
I love that with the hexagons with the beehive. Yeah.
Yes.
That is so
I absolutely love that. That's an even weave too, so that's going to be fun to stitch.
Yeah.
And these are, and I'm out of thread drops. So I've got my threads. So these are the threads.
Oh, pretty.
See them there. And it's got some specialty threads. His little wing gets back stitched in some shiny Krynic, which I think would be pretty. Yeah. And this is the black and gold. This is 205C. It's a cording that you also put on the little bee. So that's always a hook for me, is to find something a little bit, you know, if a chart has something unique, if it catches my eye, and then I think I can make it unique or use a fiber or something I haven't used before. That's always interesting. So that one gets started tomorrow. These are in order, and we'll see how that lasts. Because I can change this up.
That's right.
So this one is the next one. I'm a big fan of RETM.
Yeah.
So I decided to do Quaker Halloween. So again, the Quakers, but at least this is going to have a lot of broken up to it, and it's not a solid color.
Yeah, yeah.
So
pretty.
Can't remember the name of the fabric.
Like
this is also it's actually Stormy. I think it's Stormy. This is a screen printed one as well, the fabric flare. So these are the colors. So I think that'll be really pretty. So that one's scheduled to start next Friday.
Okay.
We'll see. Unless I decide to start it soon. This one has been a long time coming. I've had this chart for years. Ironically, it was on my list I kept seeing it at Fire Poppies. This is Manor at Peacock Hill, because I love a peacock.
Yeah, he's a gorgeous one.
And so this is kind of funny. I kept seeing it at Fire Poppies, thinking, I need to get that chart. I need to get that chart. Well, then I moved into my room, and guess what?
I already had it.
And that's not the only thing. There have been a few other things that I bought at Fire Poppies that turns out I already had the chart. So that's Manor at Peacock Hill. This is Old Town Blend from
Okay.
R&R. It's got some gorgeous muted colors. You can kind of tell they're pretty muted, but then look at the Valdanis too, that are going to get worked into it. And these are all the called for except the fabric. Old Town Blend is my go-to.
Is it?
Yeah, for those samplers that I don't do.
Have you been to Dying to Stitch?
I haven't been there. I really wanted to go this year to the retreat. So my granddaughter is going to be going to school in Virginia Beach. So once she starts that, I will definitely be visiting there. Nice. But I have not been to Dying to Stitch. No.
Yeah, it's quite a packed full little store, boy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I've always been a fan of R&R fabrics.
Yeah.
The next one is, this was my first Blackbird purchase, because you have to buy all the Blackbird. And I've always been a fan of Blackbird, thought they were pretty, but never had anything. So I got this Sweet Land of Liberty. I don't know if it's showing up right or
that's good
or not. Okay. And then the first one I'm going to do is Salute to Abigail.
Oh yeah, that's pretty.
So I've really been looking forward to this. So this is week 4, because this is the one I want to start the most. So I was trying to do it. So this is mink. This is R&R mink, which is not, it might be the called for. I can't remember. But these, this is the called for.
I was going to say, it certainly looks close.
Yeah. And then these are I just using the DMC for this one. So, nice. But I'm really looking forward to that one. So I made myself put that last, like I said, unless I change my mind.
Perfect for Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. And then I gave myself recently, I decided I needed a bonus. That's awesome. I found this, and I think you'll like this. Again, I find things, it's like having a store at home. I find things that, I can't, didn't know I had or didn't remember. And I have a lot of these, Sekas and Company.
Oh, yeah.
And this is Dragonflies. And lo and behold, I found this in a closet, all kitted up.
Oh, my goodness.
And, all kitted up. This is a Tula, so this will be therapeutic stitch. It's a 10 count, I think. Yeah, so this will be real therapeutic. And then the colors, you're going to love the colors, Jan. Another sign we might be twins.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, that's going to be so fun to stitch.
Yeah. They're real fun. And I like Sekas because people say, well, that's done on burlap, somebody said to me. I'm like, it's large count. However, she always has some kind of specialty stitches. So you learn something, as you go with those, I think.
Yeah.
And I make
working with the pearl cottons with the different colors, seeing those play out. Those are so pretty.
Yeah, and I'm kind of a person with the pearl cottons and the hand dyes that there are techniques you can use, but I like to just let it go and see, just stitch with it. I don't worry about which end. And I have tried different techniques, but with this, I will just let it go and see what comes out. And I think it'll be fun. And this is a good summer one, Dragonflies.
That's true.
So that's my bonus chart if I meet all my other goals, or if I don't meet them and I just want to do something different.
That's right, because we made it through another month.
That's right.
So do you have the Quakers that you're working on handy there?
I do. Trying not to make too much noise. This was a market release on AH to EE.
Oh.
And I am using, let's see, where'd my thread go? I'll tell you. She calls for a dark shutter green on this. Okay. This is Tyco fabric, by the way. Tyco. Mm-hmm. I love it. I just ordered some more.
Yeah.
And this is a fun little needle minder that opens up. Wow. It opens up, and then you can store your needles inside of it.
Oh, how fun. Where did you get that?
I think I got that at Down Sunshine Lane, which is an online needlework store that's been in South Carolina, I think for 17 years. She's in a Zoom stitch group of mine, and I think she said last night 17 years.
Wow.
Let's see, what color is this? A Gentle Arts spruce, blue spruce.
Okay, I love that color. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this, but I am a little bit challenged by the single color. But my goal is, and I've done quite a bit. I've done about that's almost a fourth of it. So my goal is I'll pick a motif or two and just do that.
Right.
If I don't pick up my bonus chart.
Oh heck, even if you do pick up your bonus chart.
There you go. And then this is another one that I'm enjoying. Saw this on Garon, Sunshine Stitchers. Saw this on their video. Magic Reindeer.
That's so
by Alexandra Adelaide. Yeah,
right.
This is really pretty. And I saw it, and then I worked in a needlework shop where you have all the fabrics. So I'm working it, you can't really appreciate it too well, but I'm doing this on Anubis. And it's a very bright gold. You can't appreciate it too well here, but lots of people were weighing in on this. But this is, it's a DMC 3853.
Okay.
So it's not the called for. The called for really just sunk into it. But I think it's going to show up okay. It shows up better in natural light.
Yeah. Very cool.
This is not a lot of stitching, but easy to get off on. So I have to be able to, it's not for Netflix watching. You have to pay attention. Yeah. So a little bit at a time. I just work it a little bit at a time.
Very cool.
Let's see what other Quakers. I got one more Quaker. I think there's another one. I have all of these. These are the Rosewood Manor.
Nice.
Seasonal, and I've started the winter. So I've made some progress. I started that in January. I've had a couple of surgeries, so I had to stop a little bit. And again, this is somewhat mindless stitching, but you got to watch what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, and this is the called for.
The Valdani.
Yeah, with the Valdani, which are gorgeous.
So yes.
And I like working with them. Some people don't.
Are you using the three strands straight from the ball, or are you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not plying them. I'm using them straight from the ball. And some people feel like they knot up. Believe me, if they were going to knot up if anything knots up, it knots up for me. And I haven't had that problem.
Okay.
I tend to cut my threads very long. As someone told me in the shop one day, someone that I work with said, that's the first rule of cross stitch. You should know better. But I do cut. I do cut my threads long. Yeah. But I do have some old, because like I said, I've been collecting stuff, even though I haven't been stitching. I have some of these DNC rayons that I've had for a while, and I'm probably going to use them for the snowflakes, or a toile I might use.
Yeah. Nice.
So I haven't really decided on that yet. But for the rest of it, I'll use the straight Valdani. And it's going to be gorgeous, and I'm looking forward to finishing the whole series. But I realized with the Quakers, while I love the effect, and I enjoy working them for the most part, a little goes a long way.
So your comment about the single color, did you happen to watch my first interview with Nicole and see her Death by Cross Stitch, where she's using Darling and Pride?
Yes.
So, I started Death by Cross Stitch in the Rouge, in that dark, deep red. And I see all the different people posting their Death by Cross Stitch in all these different colors. And I know I can't do it all in just that one color. It would kill me. So I need to start incorporating other things.
Right. I heard you talking about that, but that's the nice thing with Long Dog, I think, is you can just work your other colors in however you want.
Yeah.
So my two Long Dogs are Cardinal Points, I have the thread. I got the thread pack and the chart. I actually got them from a destashing site.
Oh, cool.
And I don't have the fabric. I'm thinking about Tyco for it, but I'm not. I love Tyco.
I do too.
So a Tyco goes with everything, I think.
Yeah.
And then the other one is one that you have done a color conversion for that is not a monogamous or a monotone one. It is a hoity-toity.
Yeah.
And I think I might splurge on the Mrs. Seda silks for that one. And she's got the conversion, the pack for that. So
yeah.
I might splurge on that one. That might be a birthday start.
That would be worth it.
So those are in my long dog list. But cardinal points, I do have the chart of the threads. But I like that, I tend to go for bright colors generally.
And twins.
I know. Even the hair,
Julia, I know, even the hair. So tell me a little bit about what stitching is meaning to you during this stay-at-home staycation time.
Well, I've always said that stitching is therapeutic, and I really believe that. And what's going on in my life is reflected in my stitching, including the fact that I've gone years without stitching. Usually that was because of something in life, some reason or another. Even the tension in my stitching, and I tend to stitch in hand a fair amount. And recently I've been stitching a lot in hand. It makes me feel better. There's something about holding the fabric. And I like to use softer fabrics. That's why I like the even weaves and so forth. Yeah. But I tend to go to that. But even if I'm stressed, boy, you can see the holes in my stitching. Right away that if I'm tense, my stitching is going to be tense. At the same time, it usually calms down. Mm-hmm. I have, much as I would like to be, I retired from nursing, and much as I would like to be out there right now at the bedside, very much want to be in the fight. Been celebrating Nursing Week with a lot of my fellow nurses this week, and communicating back and forth on Facebook and so forth. I have some health conditions that are going to cause me to stay at home and quarantine for probably the most of the year. So when I got affirmation of that this morning, in fact, on a call, my first thought, as I said earlier, my first thought was, I got to get up some more stuff. So, and three things came to mind right away. Finishing some things and fully finishing some things will also be a priority too. But it has really helped me, and it's helping me to reach out to people. It got me into Zoom. We have I'm leading some Zoom stitch-ins for the South Carolina stitchers. Wow. And we meet twice a week. Sometimes there's just two of us. Sometimes there's 4 or 5. I really look forward to it, and keeps me a little bit on a schedule. So that's helped. It's also sparking some creativity. And, I watch a fair amount of floss tube. Actually, a lot of floss tube. I can watch floss tube and stitch, although I have to stop it. I have to keep the remote real handy because there's always something I got to write down or replay. Yeah. But I do that. But it's calming. And often at night, if I haven't for some reason, and there's very little reason, except a day like today where I had several calls, there's very few days when I wouldn't be stitching several hours in the day. But if I get to the evening and I have not stitched, I make it a point to stitch, even if it's for 15 minutes, because it's calming. Yeah. And then the outcome of the stitching, I like to know that, it's important to me to know that I'm going to give this to somebody, or I'm going to do this with this project. Or, for instance, today I planted window boxes, like over the top window boxes. I actually went to the nursery and said, I want people stopping on my street to look at my window boxes. I'm home, I'm retired. It's something I always wanted to have, nice flowers when I'm retired and can take care of them, because I traveled a lot as a nurse.
Oh.
the last 10 years or so. So I was thinking as I was potting the flowers, what floral charts might I have that I can commemorate? Because I'm very much a theme-oriented person. So, I'm thinking, what charts might go along with this that I can
That's
remember
awesome.
that I started this when I did those window boxes. So,
So have you
so it's
found the
really,
floral chart yet? Have you
I
had a
haven't
chance
had
to
it,
look?
I haven't looked, but I'm sure well, if not, I'll be able to buy one somewhere. No doubt.
Well,
Fire Poppies
whenever,
has an order waiting for me now.
whenever you decide on your floral chart, post it on my Facebook group because I want to see what you've chosen.
I will do that. I will
Awesome.
definitely do that.
Awesome. Julia, this has been fantastic. Is there anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. Just thank you for what you do. And I look forward to seeing your designs and some of the things you're working on, particularly the textural things and
Yeah,
pieceworking some things together. I hope that comes together the way you want it to.
I think it's going to be really cool. I hope it's going to be really cool. Oftentimes you have an idea in your head and it doesn't work out in reality like it is in your head. So we'll see, but hopefully this one will.
All right.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for sharing part of your day with us. And
Thank you.
also take pictures of the flower boxes and put them on my Facebook group. I need to see flowers.
We'll do that. We'll definitely do that. All
Thank
right.
you so much, Julia. You have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right.